Hi everyone, Joellen here, and welcome to Washington Watercolor. For today's lesson, I thought it'd be fun to paint this simple yet beautiful flower. In my demonstration, not only will I show you how to paint the delicate petals of this flower, but I'll also demonstrate how to paint a flat wash for the background and how to paint the fabric in the foreground, and also, more importantly, how to paint glass. I'll begin by drawing a simple circle that represents the flower, and then I'll use that unit to measure and see how big the vase is compared to the flower, and then I'll start by drawing in the vase. I'll draw in the center line and then compare the right side to the left side in order to get a symmetrical form. Once I'm happy with the shape of the vase, I'll draw in the back edge of the table. And for this, I'll use a ruler just to make sure I'm level. Next, I turn my attention back to the flower, and I'll try to find some of the basic lines of the folds, and then from there I'll carve out each petal. When I'm happy with the shape of my flower, I'll next put in the details of the vase and the stem. When you're painting in watercolor, it's really important to keep your drawing more technical and less sketchy. So I'll keep my lines nice and clean and erase any little sketchy bits. Now that my drawing is complete, I'll use my PBO drawing gum and a color shaper to apply the masking fluid. This will help to retain the white paper and also protect some of the edges. I apply the masking to finer areas with an incredible nib. Here I use a couple pieces of masking tape to keep the table edge nice and clean. The colors on my palette that I may use for this painting include Winsor Lemon, Quinacridone Gold, Winsor Orange Red shade, Winsor Red, Winsor Violet, Ultramarine Blue, Winsor Blue Green shade, Turquoise, Sap Green, Perylene Green, and Neutral Tint. Brushes I like to use include a Princeton Neptune, Rosemary Pointed Round size 10 and size 8, a Princeton Script, and a Princeton Flat 1/4 inch brush. Once my masking has completely dried, I'll mix up a big batch of color for my background, including some Winsor Lemon, some Winsor Blue Green shade, and Winsor Violet. And I'll just keep pulling and kind of playing around with this until I get a color that I like. Once I feel I've mixed up enough paint and I like the color, I'll wet my background, just the upper part, using my Princeton Neptune brush. And then I'll just drop in and apply the color. And here I'm looking for a flat wash, more or less. So I don't really want any variation going on. And Flat washes and backgrounds can be a little challenging to paint. I think everybody knows you can do that one little last touch and all of a sudden you get a blossom. So I'll be pretty careful and I'll just do my best to get this fairly flat. I'll tilt my painting all around, and if there's any excess water or paint that runs to the edges, I'll be sure to mop it up using my brush. Once the background has dried, I'll remove the tape at the horizon line and I'll use some of my purple, a little bit of my Winsor lemon, along with some Winsor blue, and I'll just mix up a batch of paint. And again, I'll wet that foreground using my Princeton Neptune brush, and then very carefully using my rosemary pointed round, I will paint in the foreground. And this is not a flat wash, and I'll be looking for a little bit of variation. And I'll do my best not to overlap into the background, because that would give me kind of a darker line that I don't always find so attractive. I'm fairly satisfied with how this looks, but I did get a little bit of a darker line from overlapping. So again, I'll use some of my masking tape and I'll really press it or burnish it down, and then I'll use my Princeton flat brush just to see if I can soften and lift up that edge a little bit. I'm fairly happy with the foreground now, so now I'll use that same mixture and my smaller rosemary pointed round brush to put in some of the subtle folds and creases in the petals. And while the wash is still wet, I'll add touches of Winsor blue, touches of yellow, just to make these lines a little bit more exciting. Moving around painting each petal, I'll first paint the petals that don't touch each other, and that way I don't have to dry in between. But there is a point where I do have to pull out the dryer and dry the edges just so I don't have one petal or color running into the other. I feel like the petals are really shaping up, and I'll also add a little bit of my orange and some yellow gold to the center ring of the flower. In all my teaching experience, I feel that students really can be intimidated by glass, and for me, I always think painting glass is fairly easy. It's just about making a lot of observation. So I'm going to mix up a batch of my background color, and I'll think about how I'm seeing that whole foreground cloth kind of bent and inside of the glass vase. And then I'll look at how the light refracts and bends the stem, picks up more light on the opposite side of the light source. So there's a lot of little subtleties that happen that are incredibly important. But glass usually will have some type of highlight. It will pick up anything that is in the background, and a lot of times it will pick up some subtle reflections. I make sure that my vase is entirely dry, and once it's dry, I'll remove the masking fluid around the edges. I next use my flat brush to soften any of the hard edges that were created from the masking fluid. I'll make sure my painting is dry, and then I'll go in and add some darker touches. It's really important as you're painting in the stem that you make some good observations about how the stem jumps or moves as it passes through the glass and water. I'll use the same mixture of perylene green and some orange to paint the center of the flower as well. Making sure that everything is dry, I'll next remove the masking left on the base where the highlight is, and then I'll use my flat brush to create some of the subtle reflections that pass over the front of the glass vase. I'll next remove the remaining masking around the petal edges. I'll use my flat brush to soften any hard edges that I feel need to be a little softer. Next, using my Princeton script brush along with some of my foreground color, I will darken some of the wrinkles and folds in each petal. I removed the masking that was in the center, and I'll start to fill in the inner part of the flower using some orange and some yellow and just some bright and happy colors. I feel I need to tie the inner center of the flower, the yellows, into the foreground, so I'll add a few touches of my lemon yellow, just a very light wash, just to warm up some areas. I'm just adding a few extra touches here and there, and you may feel that I'm really done with this painting. And honestly, I thought I was done with this painting too, and I actually signed it, but there was something that was bothering me. I just wanted the flower just to jump out a little more. So just wait. Yes, I put a whole wash over the entire thing with the exception of the flower, and you can let me know what you think about it, but I just felt that it really helped out and added to the whole form of the flower and the painting. Okay, what do you guys think? Much better, huh? I hope you enjoyed this demonstration, and I thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment too. It really helps my channel to grow. I'll see you next time.